Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show for artists, creators, creative entrepreneurs to have heartfelt conversations about living a creative life and a career. As you go into this show, hear your favorite creators talk about money, mindset, business, creativity, and everything else that goes behind into making a life that we all adore as an artist. Hear the messy and the wonderful side of being a creative. I am your host, Charika Arora, an artist, creator, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you for joining me here. Let's jump right in. Okay, I know you want to get into this episode, but I have something to share with you. I'm so excited. After a couple of months, we're finally so excited to share our new international call for art. This call for art is a group exhibit, an international group exhibit that will be hosted on our platform, on our virtual gallery, and there's so much more that we do, which includes a documentary, and this is a guest curated open call. The theme for this open call is ready to wear, and this will be guest curated by Celine, who is an amazing artist, creative entrepreneur, and such amazing work. I really wanted, to host a new show which embraces fashion, people, culture, textiles, and I'm so glad Celine agreed to, curate this show for us. So this show is for all women artists working in different fields like painting, textiles, drawing, mixed media, and we're so excited to offer a new opportunity with a wider theme, with covering a completely whole section of theme that I'm really looking forward to. And if you want to be a part of this open call, which I'm sure if you're anywhere around this will excite you, you can go to www.arts2heartsproject.com/submit. And the deadline, yes, most important, I forgot. The deadline for this open call is 15th of June 2022. Yes, 15th of June 2022. So don't forget. And see you. Let's get into this episode. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Charika.
How are you?
I'm good. Good. Very well. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to the podcast. And I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
Okay. Before we get into a conversation, Claire, can you introduce yourself to people who are listening and tell us who you are, what you do, where you come from, and anything that seems valid for you?
Well, my name's Claire Brewster. I'm a London, UK-based multimedia artist. I think I call myself these days because I work. I'm probably most known for paper cuts that I've been making for 20 plus years, but I also work in metal and then more recently in paint, making some painted women, and then most recently doing abstract work.
Yes.
I kind of cover a lot of bases, but I think for me, it's really important to feel in your creative practice that you can experiment and try different things and feel free. There's a lot of pressure to fit in and be, you can only do one thing because that's what people know or like. And I think as creatives, it's not really satisfying. And I think we're always looking to try and experiment. And I don't think, I'm very much in believing in not limiting yourself to one thing.
I love that. And especially coming from you. 20 years of making the work. That's a really long time, both of them.
Yes. Yeah.
How does it feel?
I mean, to be honest, it feels like it is 5 minutes. So, but then when I count the years, I'm like, oh yeah, it's 20 plus. So yeah, I mean, I feel incredibly proud of what I've achieved in that time. I feel like it's an honor to be able to be a full-time artist. I mean, I've been full-time for 9 years. So that's kind of amazing. It's still pinch myself that I get to do this every day. I think, you never take it for granted when you're working in the creative fields because it's just,
I think we all, I don't know, I'm going to ask this question to you because, of course, you're way ahead. This constant fear, as I think we as creators have, a lot of us have had this fear, like, what if I have this today, especially when it comes to our own creativity, especially even as our jobs as artists, like if this is going to be all our life. I think the fear of losing it also. Have you had that? What does it feel like after these 20 years?
Oh, constant. I mean, yeah, it's always because it's not like it's a job. No one pays you monthly to do what you do. I mean, everything is self-generated, so you have to,
Yes,
find ways to. So yeah, it's that. I mean, it's a constant fear, I guess, but I try not to. I mean, some days that fear takes over, some days it doesn't. I think I try not to live in that fear because it's not really helpful.
yeah,
I don't know if there's an easy answer apart from just doing a lot. I mean, I meditate, I do journaling, I do all sorts of things to sort of keep myself in a space of
regular.
not being fearful too much. But yeah, that comes up, and I don't think it ever goes away. But I think I wouldn't change that. I mean, I think that's part of the fun. I mean, when I've worked full-time jobs in jobs that I really hated, and I was really that were really boring, and it's very unsatisfying to go and to do something every day that isn't it doesn't inspire you. And so
Yes,
getting to do what I do every day, even the hard bits, even when all the boring bits, and not everything's wildly exciting. Doing accounts is not who loves that, but when it's for yourself, it's always different because it's for yourself and you're doing accounts for
yeah,
money that you have earned. So
yeah.
that I think trying to constantly celebrate,
I love that.
and if you so everyone goes into that place of fear
Yeah,
sometimes that you can't
that's
avoid
relieving
it,
to hear.
and sometimes you just got to allow it and just go with it for a little bit. I think you can't stay there though. You have to find
Yeah,
ways to
yeah,
bring yourself
give
out
it.
because you can't create. And it's all creative. Creative
Yeah,
making work is creative, but also doing the marketing, the selling,
yes,
finding opportunities. It's all a creative process. And if you're living in that fear based state, then you can't be creative. and
that's
and
true.
and that's like our tool. That's our superpower, isn't it? It's we have so you have to find ways, whatever works for
Yes.
you, whether it's meditation, walks in nature, I don't know, there's all the things. You just have to
Love
find what
that.
works for you, I think, as an
Yeah,
individual to keep you on track.
yeah, yes. Okay, tell me something. Did you always think of, that, did you always think of becoming an artist? How did you grow up?
I mean, I mean, when I grew up, I think my strongest desire was to be a ballerina or an international show jumper.
Wow.
um, uh, I mean, I was obsessed by horses for quite a long time. I mean, I don't ride anymore, but I really need to take it up again because I do love horses. But I mean, I'm 53, nearly 54. So in the 70s and 80s, the concept of being a full time artist wasn't really anything that
Yes. Yes.
existed. I mean, it seemed like something that only basically white men could probably do,
Yeah.
and also old people, or I never really. I mean, I always wanted to do art, and art was the only thing. I mean, beyond horses, art was the only other thing that I was really interested in. I mean, at school, at home, I was always drawing and painting something. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I kind of wanted to be an artist, but I didn't know how to articulate that. And even going to art school, I mean, I studied textiles, constructed textiles specifically, tapestry weaving. Um,
Oh, wow.
Possibly
Really?
the most useful degree you can get. um, and even, I mean, it took me when till kind of like my mid 30s before. I mean, I had a long break from making work, or I didn't really make a lot of work when I graduated, and I worked
But you
abroad
did
a bit.
graduate in art school.
Yeah, I graduated, and then I kind of went
Textile.
textiles. Yeah, and then I traveled a bit. I lived abroad for a couple of years and worked in offices, and it took me to my mid to late 20s to start making work again, and then it wasn't until my kind of 30s, mid to late 30s, that I sort of really started taking it seriously, and that
Yeah.
sort of coincided with the internet becoming a place where artists could find their
Yes.
space, and
Yeah.
social media becoming a thing, and like blogging, and all of those things kind of happened, I guess, around that sort of time. So then, the internet has been like the gift to artists.
That's true.
Because
I think, yeah, I mean, I don't think this would have been possible. This conversation would have been possible had it not been for the internet and social
no,
media, for
well, you
sure.
wouldn't know about me. I wouldn't know about you
Yes,
without that.
absolutely.
I mean, it was. I mean, magazines were literally the only way you could find out about people. So unless you
People.
were artists or designers, it was magazines or TV. So it was there was like, and there's so many gatekeepers in order for you to get
But
into said magazines. Back in
yeah,
the day.
yes,
So
absolutely.
it was very difficult to get into those things. Whereas now we can create our own magazines, you can create your own podcasts, we can create our own
Yes,
communities like you do.
yes.
And so the gatekeepers don't, we're our own gatekeepers now.
But tell me something. While, like, we all know a lot of struggles that we, as this age of 21st age century artists face, like in the times of social media, of internet, we know a lot of things that working, a lot of things that are not working. But I'm really interested in knowing, like, how would you? I mean, taking the plunge of being an artist at that point when it was harder than ever because the gateways were so few, they were so hard guided, like guarded, and very little opportunities. Taking a jump and like committing to being an artist, how scary was that for you? And how was your experience in those years of trying to take off?
I didn't really think about it being scary. I reached a point, I guess, of like a sort of crisis of a relationship ended. I kind of
Hmm.
moved out, bought a flat, and was at the point where I had to do something. It was either I thought about doing a psychology degree, or I needed to work on my art more seriously and figure a way. I mean, it took some years for it to be full time, but to figure a way to
Yeah.
do something with that. So it was probably more out of desperation than anything.
Yeah.
But at the time, I mean, there's always been open calls, so I just applied for anything and everything. I mean, and back then, a lot of the times you had to send in slides. So,
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for digital photography. But
Yeah.
I literally just sent everything, things to everybody and anybody. In a sort of, I guess I was kind of naive, but in that naivety, I was fearless because I
Yes.
didn't have anything to lose. I mean, I had a time job, so my bills were covered. I wasn't really
Yeah.
that risk wasn't there, but I also knew that I needed something else.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's sort of harder now because I kind of know more, so there is more fear,
Yeah.
and it's like trying to go back to that feeling of that naivety of just thinking, um, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but fuck
Yeah.
it.
I think when you don't know what you're going for, it's easier still to go for it than, the better you go into that journey and the struggles that may come and you may face it. I think that psychologically is a little harder than before.
Yeah, when you don't know, when you're just doing it anyway, and you're just
Yeah.
sort of a bit desperate because you know you want something and you don't, but
Yeah.
so you're just trying anything and everything. Yeah, you don't really, you don't know the struggles, you don't know anything because
Yeah.
you're just doing it, and so yeah, and it's sort of harder now because there's the fear, there's not, that because I've done so many more things and trying to keep that mindset of just do it anyway. I think is hard one of the hardest things, but I think that's like vital to just think, just send your work off anyway. And yeah, you get loads of rejections, of course, but you never know who's going to see your work, and you never
You
know.
know. Yeah.
Even if you get rejected for a thing, they've someone's still seen your work. It's still passed
Yeah.
by someone's eyes.
It's still
And
one step ahead.
yeah, and you never know where that person might jury something again, and they might remember you, or you applied on time, and just the physical act of getting your stuff together to send out is
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
thing.
Amazing.
So
Okay. Did you have any influences, especially I think at that time while you decided to be an artist. Did you have anyone to look up to, or any creative influences in your own family that also encouraged your creative pursuits? How was your family also at that point? I think a lot of people still don't believe being an artist is like a valid job. I can't even imagine how would that be when you decided.
Um, I mean, I think it was sort of all right while I still had a full time job. I mean, I think they're sort of
Yeah,
supportive. I mean, they're supportive, and more so now because they've seen that I can
yeah.
support myself
Now, but
on
this is
it.
also 20 years later.
Yes, I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but I can understand that obviously parents are
Yeah,
fearful of their children's kind of like crazy ideas that they're going to go do stuff. But I guess I was always quite determined, so they kind of were supportive to an extent. I mean, I don't really have a creative mentor in my family, and no one was
no.
particular. I mean, my grandma, my maternal grandmother, used to buy me art materials when
Oh,
I was a kid,
wow.
so she was quite sort of, I guess, in that some ways, sort of helpful. I don't know where the desire to be an artist came from, to be honest. And I think artists are kind of born, not made. And I think it's just
Yeah,
something within you. And I think for some people it comes out young, some people it comes out later in life. But I think
late.
it's sort of always there. And yeah, there's just something about the joy of making art that it's like an addiction, isn't it? Really,
I know. Yeah,
you
I think
can't stop.
a
Uh,
few days ago, like a few days away from a studio, I feel like I start feeling breathless.
yeah,
Um, I think sometimes also like the different lifestyles. I think every job has a very different lifestyle,
mm,
habits that you could inculcate that may complement. And I feel like as an artist, what I really enjoy is of course, making the work and everything, but the creative life, whatever it takes, and the habits and everything we do to be a better creative, I think I really enjoy that entire process. Like, I like to have these meaningful thoughts. I like to keep questioning. I like to keep digging. I don't want to pass something and just pass it and never think about it again. Like, I want to look at a thing for a million times and then keep asking why, how. And then I like, we as artists, we're all these like dreamers, and some way we're always very inquisitive about something.
yeah. I think yeah, it goes with the territory that you have to be kind of inquisitive and always looking. I think it's that thing of always looking, isn't it? And kind of like wondering how and why is that made, and what is it, and why does that work, and the colors and the shapes, and
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think the yeah. I mean, I think it's taken me a while, but I feel like especially during kind of like the last couple of years, I feel like I've got my kind of best sort of routine that I've ever had right now
Oh,
of kind of things that I do to start my day to make me feel good.
really?
Um,
Let's also talk about that.
well, so I start the day kind of with a bit of journaling. I wake up quite early, 6 a.m., because I don't know, I just sort of wake up and then I journal and then I meditate and then I do. I don't know if you've heard of EFT tapping. It's like sort of energy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So I do a bit of that. Then I work out and then have my breakfast and start work. So that's like
Where
every
is your
day.
studio?
It's at home. Luckily, currently it's at home, so it's quite
Okay.
easy for me to
So,
sort of do all of that stuff without having to leave the house. But yeah, I feel like right now that really it's working for me quite well.
yeah,
To have that, it's like a really,
exactly.
and I do it every day, 7 days a week. I don't even think about it. I mean, unless I'm away, then I might not do all of it. But um, yeah, I feel like everyone. I think getting that morning routine or your own,
Yes,
in whatever
absolutely.
shape or form it works for
Yes,
you as an
100%.
individual, just makes so much
So
difference.
much. I think it makes life so much more better and meaningful.
Yeah,
I don't have it right now. I've had I found a routine that really really works for me. I really like, but when life takes over for the past 1.5 months, I've been living in suitcases and I feel like a mess because I think
yeah,
that's one thing that impacts who I am, my work, and it makes me who I am. That's like a structure for my own livelihood that I need to, for my own sanity. And I really enjoy that part for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, tell
For
me
your,
something.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying for your sanity. For me, if I don't do like that stuff, yeah, it'd be very quickly you go a bit like
Yeah.
depressed. But yeah, yeah,
I get it. Okay, tell me something. You just mentioned like you always like everywhere on your website. You just said it yourself. Multi-disciplinary artist. I think a lot of artists even today get overwhelmed with this idea of fitting into a box. You need to have a niche. You have to have style. You have to have mediums, and all of that. I know that you've covered, like you said, your paper cuts are very popular. You do installations, you also do abstract. You've just started, I mean, recently there's an
yeah.
addition of abstract, but your portraits, your painted ladies. First, let's start from what's your work, what your work is about. And let's also go on to a journey about how you started navigating these different works, and and I think how we expanded these categories, like these different style forms, and that define you who you are today.
Um, I mean, the paper cuts. I guess. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I think the overarching theme about my work is about sort of materials and like stretching materials into doing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing, and sort of playing with them. And then also within that, there's sort of like a mining of emotion, of like feelings, and I'm always trying to find a sense of freedom. So, which is kind of where the birds and the paper cuts come in, because it's sort of that they're quite free
Yes. Oh, I love that.
animals. So they kind of, I mean, prior to making the paper cuts, I'd always done painting and collages and mixed media work, and then somehow I kind of fell into making paper cuts, and solidly for about 20 something years.
Wow.
I just made the paper cuts. I didn't do anything else. Um, 2016, I had a solo show in a gallery in the US, and which was really amazing. And I sadly wasn't able to go to the opening, but they were, that it was really amazing. But it also slightly broke me. And after it, I just had this. I was kind of exhausted, and simultaneously, unbeknownst to me at that moment, I was kind of going through the perimenopause, which is sort of
Okay.
what happens to women pre to
Yeah.
menopausal.
Yeah.
And I didn't know really what that was about at that point.
Okay.
And I just got this urge to paint. Like it
Oh,
just came,
back again.
yeah, it just came to me that I needed to, and so I would sit watching TV in the evening with some small kind of A4 size, no, A3 size kind of cardboard, and I did sort of these collages, and mainly of kind of women, and painted on top of them using acrylic inks and stuff. And it was just sort of some things that I'd had, inks and things that I'd kind of had, I guess, for 20 years because I hadn't really used them, that were still working. And I just kind of did that, and then it sort of it sort of opened up a sort of, when you open up a kind of crack and it gets kind of
Yes.
wider and wider, and you kind of can't close it again. And um, so I kind of just, that they became bigger and bigger, and I started making bigger canvases that were sort of these collages of women, um, and they were really fun, and I was really enjoying it. And then I kind of hit a wall in kind of end of 2019, where or I didn't really know where I wanted them to go, and I kind of, yeah, which is when I started working with Anne. Well, at the beginning of 2020.
Yes. That's, I think that's how I found your work.
Okay, so literally I think I started talking to Anne. I think I heard her on um, Kat's podcast, the
Yes. Yes.
Art
Trade
Queens.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think, and she mentioned on that she did mentoring, and I was like, oh,
Yes, she
oh.
did.
So I kind of emailed her, and I guess that was maybe beginning of 2020, and so yeah, literally beginning of March, just before lockdown kind of happened, before COVID really hit, I kind of started working with Anne, um, And so that, and she was like, well, take everything away, take all the crutches away, take all the collages, take everything away and see kind of what happens. And then, yeah, obviously that was kind of terrifying because I don't know what's going to happen. And initially there, I did some abstract work, and then these kind of women started appearing.
Yes.
And it was like quite a love-hate relationship for me with them, to be honest.
Okay.
Anne was sort of loving them, and I was generally hating them. I found
I
them
really
really,
like them.
I found them really difficult to make.
Yeah.
Um, but actually it was also really good. It was like a really brilliant, I mean, I did that all the way through 2020, so that was like a really good kind of like solid type thing to do in lockdown when you haven't really got anything else to do. I mean, and I was selling paper cuts and also did some commissions luckily at that point, so I've kind of always maintained the two things
Side and side.
side and side. Mostly the paper cuts I work to commission now, so that and the, though I still work with the same gallery in the US, DL Gallery in the US, and they're having some of my work in July in the show. So I kind of do both. I feel like they're the two sides of my personality, the sort of
Okay.
yin and yang, and so yeah, this kind of like they took over my life, the women, for a while. So that went through, and then I hit another wall in sort of end of 2020, sort of into 2021, where I couldn't make them any better. It's like, and you're just doing the same
Yeah.
thing, but they're not progressing, and you don't know where
Yeah.
to take them.
What's up?
And then I signed up for it's an alternative art school based in London called Terps.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and they do three courses. They do an on-site where you have a studio within, and then they do off-site, which is what I signed up for, where you have your own studio,
Okay.
and then they have a online. So wait, obviously you just do it from anywhere in the world, and so it's a peer mentoring program. So you have a mentor, and then you have it's like 40 students, and then you have like a pod of like 4 to 6 people, and you kind of like get a mentor, have a mentor, and then some guest mentors, and it's all purely painting, and it's just always talking about painting. And I had my first session with my mentor, and yeah, the women kind of went away. and and then I started kind of doing this abstract thing, and they sort of, even though they're sort of coming from a similar place, but it's like
Yeah.
it's finding a way to kind of be free. And
Yeah.
I've just been writing my newsletter today about being a bad girl, and it's like this idea of kind of like the
Oh,
paper cuts
wow.
are very much about sort of fitting in and being sort of normal, and then this painting is like me just going, yeah, I'm just going to be who I want to be. And this sort of coincides with the perimenopause, menopause, this moment of a woman's life. It's sort of
Yeah.
where, and no one really tells you this, that yeah, a lot of it was really shit, I'm not going to lie. I went through quite a major depression, but at the same
Mhm.
time, when you come out of it, it's like really liberating and freeing, and suddenly you just feel like you can do whatever you like anymore. And no,
Yeah.
the expectations are kind of gone of who you, and yeah, that, and there was, and like my mentor was a woman, amazing painter called Geraldine Swain, who is I think similar age to me, and so we have these amazing discussions about this idea of this kind of what's it like to be some freer, and how you open up yourself to all these things.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's the sort of journey. And then in amongst that, I also make some metal versions of my
Yeah.
boards, which
Yeah.
are sort of installations,
Yeah.
um, and things like that. So yeah.
Oh, wow. So, what you've transitioned into these, I think a lot of artists today also are afraid of, a lot of times we feel like, oh, we're jumping from one place to another, you know, in this scope of experimentation, a lot of us feel lost. And I think, especially with the external pressure of, honing to one style, or like, keep working on one thing. And um how how have you dealt with when you're way ahead in your career? I feel like when you are young and raw, and you still have time, you're still very open to experimentation. I think the risk is less, I feel like, because we feel like, we're still starting. But when you have moved ahead in your career, where you have moved forward, you still know what works. And that, I think, like, when you knew your cuts were doing well, they're still doing well, but then the urge of taking a risk of doing something different and then going for that, how does that feel?
Oh, terrifying. I mean, I spent most of the time in a state of fear and horror of what am I doing? This is crazy. But at the same time, I just couldn't not do it. I mean, it's like there was an impulse, and I just think you have to follow those feelings. And um, the temptation, obviously, to burn down the house is strong. And I'm never making it on the paper cut, but obviously, I don't think that's really what I want to do. But I think I just reached a point I couldn't not do it. And
Yeah.
I could have ignored that feeling, but I think it would have made me I would have been very unhappy.
Unhappy.
And living the creative life is nothing if not, about kind of,
If doesn't, yeah.
if it doesn't make you happy, why you do
Yeah.
what am I doing? I
Right.
might as well go and do a job that,
Job.
I want to be sad
Yeah,
if
and
I
be
do,
unhappy. Yeah, but at least you'll be more stabilized.
yeah,
You'll have
exactly.
all of those things and be unhappy. It still makes sense.
Yeah, so you might as well just, and I mean, there is, if you, I can't think of the phrase, but if you have a desire, it's like the universe it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not. I think you kind of have to follow it and see where it goes. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
pulling a string on a sweater, isn't it? It's like you've got to unravel it to see what comes out at the end, and it's like something different. And I think it's unrealistic. I mean, for me, I don't but to expect people to be the same the whole of their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think what you want in your 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s and beyond is kind of different. And, if you're a mother or, a parent or, whatever changes you make, we're all making changes all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where the idea that you can't ever change your creative practice comes from. I mean,
I think
we all have it, and it's like I think it's fear or something. I'm not really sure.
I
It's like
think
a
also
story.
how I don't even know how we buy into this, because um, most of us, for us, our work, our life, and our work are not separate,
No,
and they're very intertwined, and they work hand in hand. Anything that affects into our work comes into our work, affects into our life, and anything that happens into our lives also goes into our work. And if I think 20, the Claire in 20s, the Claire in 30s, and the Claire in 50s. I'm sure there are three different Claires who've had different ways of looking at things. You know, we change as people with time, and that's
yeah,
for sure going to affect who we are. It's going to show into our work, and if you're not doing that, then I feel like, are we even being true to ourselves, true to our work? Because I think that's why we signed up for being an artist.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like you change your hair, you change your makeup, you change your clothes. I mean, I don't
Yes.
wear the same clothes I wore or makeup I wore when I was in my 20s. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be weird. So why? Yeah, I think it's a fear-based thing that you have to kind of, if some work is popular, you have to kind of keep making it. But why can't the new work you make be just as popular, or maybe it's even more popular?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's yeah, and it's like why we signed up for this. It's to explore our creativity, and I think it's amazing that people make paintings one day and the sculpture the next, or that people, that we have that ability to do
Yes.
different things, and
Yeah.
they come from different places, and yeah, you feel differently when you're at different ages, and you need
I
different ways
love
to
that.
express yourself. I think that's
I
like
love
super
that.
important, really,
Yeah.
and I don't think we should
What
be
is
afraid.
Absolutely. What is the one thing now that you feel this? I can feel your energy right now. What is that one thing that you're now looking forward into, clear into a 50s? And I think
what I'm really trying to look forward is what's exciting you now as an artist. You've been
Uh,
doing this for a long time, and I think um, to keep that spark up in spite of the time that you spent in, and also becoming more fearless. Um, what's exciting you now?
I mean, the paintings that I'm doing now are kind of exciting me. I mean, they're kind of being able to kind of play with paint and yeah, experimenting, just fiddling around and seeing what happens, and not really having a massive plan. I mean, the paint abstract work that I do, there's no plan to it. It's literally I just sit there with a canvas and start with something, and it goes somewhere, and I don't know where it's going to go from start to finish. And that
Oh
I
wow.
kind of like. I
Is it
like that.
like going back in time and being like, I think sometimes when we become good at something, at a lot of us hit a point where we want to become back to a stage where we learn, like, that I think that curiosity of how to do things and challenge ourselves. I like for me as a creative, I love challenges. Like I need to be bad at something, or I need not to know something completely so that I commit to a process of, discovering things and looking things in a new way.
Yeah, I think playing. I think that action of sort of playing and that sort of freedom, just to say, well, it doesn't matter, and let's see what
Yeah.
happens. I think that I think that's really exciting, and I think yeah, just having the free, like giving yourself the freedom. I mean, obviously it's terrifying, but at the same time, kind of overriding that, or or maybe not overriding it, like surfing that fear as well a
Yeah.
little bit. I think is and maybe that's something I probably wouldn't have done when I was a bit younger. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know where things are going to go, and it's sort of okay. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
wow. I love that.
I think
I
it's
love this sentence. I love this. I
I
think more
don't.
of us needs to, like, a lot of more and more, including myself, we need to say that, like, I don't know where things are going, but that's okay. I think we
Yeah,
have this habit of thinking that we all have this figured out.
I don't think anyone's got anything ever figured out. I think that's like one of the myths of life, that you look at your parents when you're a kid and think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they got it all.
They
Yeah.
have no idea. No one has any idea. We're all just making it up as we go along, and some
Mm.
people are just more convincing at that than others. And I think when you start
Yes.
looking at the world in
Yeah.
that way, you figure, well,
Yes.
I might as well just do what I want to do anyway, because everyone else
Yeah.
is doesn't really know. I think it's easy to get caught up in that trap, really, of kind of feeling
Yeah.
like you need to know. We never know, and who knows what curveball the world's going to. I mean, the last 2 years have
Yeah.
taught us anything. We have no idea
Absolutely.
what's coming up,
Absolutely.
so you might as well just get on and do your thing, regardless.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. It was so fun talking. I have a fun rapid fire, and I just feel so warm and cozy and honestly supported after talking to you. And I'm
Oh,
sure people who are listening to this episode would feel the same, because I think um, knowing the fact that a lot of things that maybe I'm feeling, or people, you know, who are listening may be feeling, we're all in different stages of our lives. Knowing that someone who's ahead of us in time, in career, in all ways, um, either has gone through something similar, or um, is in the same place, and it doesn't matter. I think that's also, it makes you feel better that it's okay, it's normal, and that we're all together in it than being alone in it. I think that
yeah,
makes a huge difference.
and I think communities. I mean, part of the reason I started doing the Terps course was for the community. That you'll be,
Yes,
and I think because as artists we can be quite alone. I mean, you
yes,
can't I can't
yes,
make my work with other people around. I have to be alone,
yeah,
so you can spend a
yeah,
lot of time alone. So I think communities like yours and all those things, that they're massively important. And I think
yes,
getting
that's
I
true.
always shied away when I was younger from joining things, and now I'm
Yeah.
working. Now I've figured out that actually joining things is good.
I think I would also, I'm still not, like, I'm still young, I would say, but I think a couple of years, even till a couple of years um before, like, ago, I would still be very shy of, being a part of something or maybe starting something as such as this. And slowly I saw a change, and I think a lot has to do with how the past 2 years were for me.
Mm.
Also, a few times, like couple of years before that, and I saw them. I think I just experienced the change when you do things together, and the purpose it brings, the community and the support. No matter what you're doing, when you have people around you who are as passionate, as aligned, and feel the see things the way that you do, I think it's so much more worth the journey than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Amen to that.
Wow. Okay, so are you ready for the rapid fire?
I am indeed.
Okay, one, two, three, here we go. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
Oh gosh, that it's okay to be different and free.
I love that. You've already done that today. What's that one word that describes you the best?
Oh my god, I don't know.
One word. Anything.
One word.
One word.
Creative. I can't think of anything better.
Absolutely. If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, it'd be within like a 10-minute walking distance from where I live now.
Okay. Your biggest source of inspiration?
Oh god, I guess it's like my internal emotions.
Absolutely. Who's your favorite woman artist from any point of time?
Favorite woman artist. No, I'm gonna. Now I can't think of
Any point
anything.
of time.
I can't think of anything.
I know this one gets a lot of people. I know that. I would have been
I'm
there.
trying to think of not someone really obvious. Okay, I'm just gonna say. Trying to think of something that I've seen recently. But she's got a big show on in London at the moment. I'm gonna say Cornelia Parker.
Oh, smart. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. If you were to meet younger Claire today, what advice would you give her?
So just fucking get on with it. And be happier. And you're really beautiful, and don't let anyone tell you.
Oh, that's you. You look so lovely today also. That's a lovely advice. Okay. Shout out to an artist who you're currently loving on social media.
Obviously can't remember anyone either. I can't remember any names. Okay, I'll say my friend Gillian Knight.
Okay. I'm going to find her out and link in the show notes.
She does a podcast as well.
Oh, wow. Is it? What's it called?
Art Fictions.
Perfect. So, anyone who's interested, I'll link her podcast as well. Okay. One last question. Oh, no. I have another one.
Okay.
This is a little more than one word. Can you share one of your favorite memory as an artist? Anything that made you feel special and something you hold very close to yourself that you feel grateful to be an artist? Anything, any moment, any experience.
The first museum show that I had when I had in Manchester in the UK, when I got to make a big installation. Well, I did a big installation in it and installed it. And then through that, I ended up on Blue Peter, the TV show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I saw that. You've done such amazing things. Yes, absolutely. Okay. One last question, which is, as a creative creator, as an artist, what's that one piece of advice that you'll give to anyone who's coming behind you? So anyone who's listening to this episode that you would have wished you would have gotten?
The same as to young Claire, just fucking do it. Just don't be afraid to share your voice. It matters, I think.
Yes.
And support. Yeah, find a supportive network. Just share, because whatever you've got is good. So yeah, and keep a long bit of advice. Keep going. Don't give up.
Yes. I
Never
love that
stop.
advice. I think um, I think what I take away from our conversation is also it does not matter where we are in our lives, in our career. A lot of our feelings will still, those fears will still be there. I mean, only the momentum, the risk, and things like that may move. But you've done so much, but a lot of those feelings are still there. And in spite of those, you've done so much, and I'm sure you'll do so many more. So it only makes me look forward to things that I know that there's fear sitting next to me, but I know that you got through it. So maybe I will, and so many others who are listening to this episode, we all will.
Well, as that Elizabeth Gilbert says, never let
Yes,
fear drive the car, and I think keep that in
yes,
your head because it's so easy. You suddenly find that you're sitting in the passenger seat, and fear
yes.
is
I love that.
driving you along. And yeah, don't let fear take over.
I think
'Cause,
that's
yeah,
like a whole book for I think for all
yes,
of us.
exactly.
I love that book. It's like a
It's like a
it's like a
warm bath.
guiding light.
And it,
Yes, yes,
yeah, it sort of soothes
yes,
you, but also tells you to get your shit together and just keep doing it. I mean,
yes,
I think,
yes.
yeah, the fear never goes away. It's just different fears, but or the same ones come around in different suits, I think. So, yeah, I think whatever age, whoever you are, you're still, it's always there, but you just have to just do it anyway.
Lovely. Okay. Before I let you go, I just want to ask you, do you have anything that's coming up that you can share with us, we can support you with? And where can people find you, support you, and keep in touch with you?
Well, I have some work in a show in the L Gallery in Wyoming. If anyone's in
If
that
anyone's
part,
around, they can.
if anyone's,
Yes.
I think that's the beginning of July. That's some paper
Okay.
plots. Paintings. I think I might have something in November, but not sure yet. But they can find me on Instagram at Claire_Brewster, website clairebrewster.com. So yeah, say hi. I'm around. You can email me from my website, join my
Yeah.
newsletter. Always happy to
Yes,
chat.
John, that's important.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
And
important.
now that Instagram has gone weird, we all need to
Yes.
focus on our
On
other
our own.
marketing tasks.
Yes. Oh God.
So
That's
yes, I was just writing my newsletter while I was waiting for this.
I I've been working on transitioning my website and I need to get my things together.
Yeah.
I think after this episode, I'm going to go back to Audible, play back Big Magic because I think I need that nudge right now.
Yes. Yeah. I have that on. Yeah, it's on repeat. That and
Same.
a few other books. Just when you need a kick, pick me up. Something. Yeah. Always Elizabeth
Oh,
Gilbert.
yes. I love another one that I really love before I say goodbyes. Um, Twyla Thorpe, The Creative Habit. I love
Oh, I
that
read
book.
that years ago. Is that on Audible?
Yes.
Okay, I'll need
And
to get
also
that.
Art and Fear. Who's that by? Art and
Oh,
Fear is by
I don't.
James.
I don't know Art and Fear.
I love that book. The War of Art and Art of
Oh,
Fear,
that
both
one.
of
Yes.
them.
Yeah. War of. Oh, him. Yes. Okay, I know the War of Art.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And Art and Fear is also amazing.
I haven't
Really
read
nice,
that.
amazing book.
Yeah.
All on Audible. I love listening to books
Oh
and
God. Yeah.
podcasts.
Yes. Definitely. They help.
I'll send some more to you.
Okay. Brilliant. That would be really good. Yeah. I
We
could
should do
always
like
listen to a book
I
club.
think you've given me a great, yes, I think I'll ping to a lot of, I will ask in a community and we'll combine a list of audible books, especially because I can't
Mm,
read. I know a lot of artists who have a hard time reading, and that
yeah.
would be so much fun. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Definitely.
do that.
Always good to have a good source of inspirational books to keep you going.
Yes, yes. And I think the joy of also discussing and doing them together is amazing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Perfect. So, everyone who's listening to this episode, thank you for tuning in. If you want to find all the links Claire has mentioned, her work, we'll also find out links to her show, and we'll keep you informed about all the events that are upcoming for her. Make sure you visit the website Shownotes, and you can find all the links, and you make sure you connect with, follow, and support Claire and her work. And thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Claire, for your time. And I feel so good talking to you. I'm really grateful for this conversation. Thank you.
I'm really grateful too. It was really good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.